All right, good morning, everyone. We'll get started. If your phones are on, it'd be a good time to turn them down, and we'll call to order our meeting.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Present.
Commissioner Harris?
Present.
Commissioner, Chair Dickinson? Commissioner Dunn?
Present.
Vice Chair Waymire?
Present. If you please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I believe we'll have an invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to come and say a prayer for this meeting. There's no proverb that's out. It's been around for a while. It says if your vision or your goal is for a year, you plant wheat. If your vision or your goal is for 10 years, you plant trees. If your vision or goal is for a lifetime, you plant people. This commission is involved with the people of Franklin County, with its citizens, and I want to pray for your decisions for this commission, that you will always keep the people of this county in mind. Father, we thank you for the opportunity that we have today to be a part of this world. We thank you for your blessings. We thank you for the love that you have bestowed upon each and every one of us. As this commission meets today, we would ask that you would give them discernment, give them wisdom in the decisions that are made, and help them to remember that every decision they make affects the people within this county. So provide for them the means, the grace, the wisdom, the discernment, whatever they need in order to make decisions that would benefit this county. Protect them and their families. I would ask that you would be with each and every person within this county, that you would keep them safe and that you would help them to be productive in all that they do. Lord, thank you for your blessings, and we'll give you all the praise and glory. Amen.
Anything under correspondence? No, sir. All right, we're going to have some public comment. Just a reminder, that'd be public comments limited to 5 minutes. This is your time to talk. We'll listen. Discussion needs to be limited to county business, and we can't touch on personnel matters or pending legal matters. Go ahead.
The first one is James Wallace.
James Wallace, 2447 Nebraska Road. I come before you today with two simple requests. Please honor the decision of the Planning and Zoning Board and put a moratorium on the Met Tower for 6 months or longer. And just say no to wind and solar in Franklin County. Thank you.
Norman Woogie.
Norman Woogie, 3790 Pony Road. I am here to provide you information regarding the windmills. It's going to be tough and probably impossible at this time for you to allow the new construction of the windmills. Migrating birds, geese, ducks, sandhill cranes, blue herons are all protected by the federal law and the use of their airspace. They are in great danger from these windmills. People in America consider Kansas heartline unique and a flyover state for migrant birds. Millions and millions of migrating birds flying mostly at night fly through the central flyway, the highway for them. There are more than 10,000 ducks and geese flying through Kansas and Missouri. Most of these migrants birds fly at night. Many birds are killed and injured colliding with the windmills. The windmills with their propellers are wicked due to their numbers, location, and the acting like rotating knives. The blades move to 100 miles an hour and more, with the blades rotating 8 to 10 seconds. Every 3 seconds, a blade replaces the blade in position. Accident happens. Also, the monarch butterflies, ours, and the hawks, to mention a few. The lives are at risk by the obstruction of the windmills created that prevents safe passage through the normal ecosystem. Geese are over 3 feet long. While in flight, if geese encounter the blades, they will surely lose their tail, other important parts of their body. There are many government agencies at every level to protect the natural environment, specific 300 species of migrating birds. Billions of, billions of migrating birds fly across the world. The Kansas flyway is attractive to the waterfowl protection because of the protected wetlands. The United States government provides funds for CRP in Kansas and other programs, all for the sake of our environment. There are many lakes, Clinton, Perry, and Hillsdale, name a few, located in connection with the flyway of Franklin County. There is also a multitude of ponds where the birds can rest and eat on their voyage. What a wonderful sight to behold. Our government, through the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks, has Title 50 code of the federal regulation that prohibits the wanton waste of migratory birds. Bird watchers gather many places to watch and enjoy the migration. A large group gathers near Clinton Lake on the festival last May 14th, 2022 at Mud Run Park for part of the day. The bird advocates gather to see the birds play and the people enjoying the natural beauty of the Kansas landscape. The Kansas Biological Survey and Center for Ecological Research for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Center. It studies the natural migration patterns of the migrating animals of all types. There are seminars given.
You're down to a minute, Norm? A minute?
Thank you. David Hoover and Chester McConnell of the Kansas City Department of Wildlife and Parks with their Saving Kansas of the Critical Ecosystem of the Central Flyway. The seriousness of these violations of the Federal Migratory Treaty Act, Franklin County constituents should not risk the liability in being violation of the Federal Migratory Treaty Act. Birds fly across the world, billions. Birds fly north through Canada, Alaska, and clear to Siberia and further south. It's time to do the right thing. Say no to the windmills. The government of many nations agree. We all need to enforce the safety measures to protect our beautiful world and our natural ecosystem.
Sabrina Metter.
I'm Sabrina Metter. I live at 3404 California Road in Pomona, or outside of Pomona. Let me go here. So first of all, I'm here to ask that as the commission that you would uphold the Planning Commission's vote on declining the special use permit for the Met Tower that NextEra Energy wants to install. I would furthermore ask that the commission would just ban wind and solar altogether in the county, but if at the least have a 2-year moratorium to really look into what the wind and energy solar would do to this community, and to revisit the comprehensive plans and or make amendments to like the current zoning and the regulations. I decided to come with more technical reasons as to why this. There are many personal reasons I have against windmills, but I thought some of those are kind of gray areas, and I thought, well, I would do more technical. So I have read the planning and zoning concerns and the 2006 comprehensive plan of it, and I do have concerns that Rose and other people would probably bring these up, definitely with offsets. It does state in the zoning that, you know, you have these certain offsets, but then what really happens with the landowners the people who are getting the windmills and the nearby landowners, connecting landowners. I feel that there could be problems with people using their land how they would want to use it. Also in decommissioning, you will hear people talk about the landowner having to foot the bill for taking them down. I know, I did read that. It does have a section in here in the zoning about that, but the concerns I have would be when it says may require the special use permit holder to decommission. So how will that be upheld? Will the county really go out and make sure that these have been decommissioned? Another concern in the zoning that I have is the transfer of the special permit. Again, it says the county commissioners may direct the planning director, the public works director, and/or designated person to field inspect. Will they do that? They also require a transfer fee of $1,000. I feel that that should be way more, so foreign countries don't come in and buy the wind farms from these people, and then we don't know who's running them. Also, to the comprehensive plan, I just thought it would be good to revisit the vision statement back in, I guess, 2006 when this was written. It says, Franklin County is a diverse community of urban and rural areas where demand for quality and affordable growth is met, economic development and opportunity is enhanced, rural character and agriculture as a business and way of life is supported, and all of these objectives are balanced with protecting the property rights of landowners. That's key. Goal number 2, it's rural residential development. Objective 2.1 states, to recognize there is a wide range of households seeking an opportunity to live in unincorporated areas of Franklin County. Next, goal 5, promote balanced growth. Objective 5.2 says to encourage new development to respect the rural quality of life, pursuit of agriculture, and natural beauty of Franklin County. I feel that the natural beauty of Franklin County would be hindered greatly with these additions. And one thing I've learned, and through all this experience, is how many people who've moved to Franklin County from like Johnson County to get away from all of this, to only find that this is now happening here. Met a family that moved here from California. We all know what California is like. And so I think it's hindering all of that. The next thing is goal 6, where they did bring up renewable energy systems. 6.2 says to develop and implement specific rules, regulations, and procedures that protect people and property from the negative impacts associated with commercial renewable energy systems while providing opportunities for citizens and communities, economic and individual benefits from commercial renewable energy systems.
You got about 30 seconds.
Okay, so what I noticed was there's very few people that I've seen that have actually signed contracts. So you have a handful of landowners against 1,000 thousands of other landowners in Franklin County that will be affected by this. And I think you just really need to look into this further. And to restate 6.5 of it, it says continually evaluate and update rules, regulations, and development procedures regarding commercial renewable energy systems based on latest technologies and changing standards. And so I feel the moratorium would do that was stated in the comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Shandy Prouty.
It was a dress down day. Thank you for that. Hi, guys. Shandy Prouty, 4848 Louisiana Road, Baldwin City, Kansas. I'm really close to the county line, so I still am in Franklin County. I'm going to give you some facts really quick. I don't want to talk about personal experience because you don't care about that. Number 1, we know that the experimental Met Tower is not experimental. We know that that's NextEra's foot in the door. We all know that. We know that from Jackson County, Reno County, Burlington County, down in Chanute. We know that from Douglas County. We just know that. We know that that's how it goes. Number 2, there's a KU study from the Department of Geology. I can email it to you, send it to you. But more turbines equal less energy. I can send it to you if you would like. Number 3, we know that turbines decrease property value by 40%. I'm a landowner. There's multiple landowners in here. and that's what's going to happen to Franklin County if you guys bring these in. I don't know what number I'm on. With that 40% property decrease, I have a friend who is moving away from Eudora, from the Panasonic plant, moving out to Franklin County to be closer to family. Here's the debacle. The landowner that sold it did not disclose the contract next door. So now, are they backing out? Are they going to renegotiate? What's happening? It's affecting multiple people already. Property taxes, money, etc. Money talks. Number two, when these are decommissioned, because they only last maybe 10 years, who's going to pay for it? Is the operating company still going to be here? These leases are 90 years. I don't know how old you are. I know I'm not going to be here. That's going to be my kids, grandkids, etc. When they're decommissioned, it's $1 million to decommission it. If it's not the operating company, then it goes to the county. We know that the county's probably not going to pay for it. So it goes back to the landowner as a tax lien. Who has $1 million? I don't. Those contracts from Waverly have already been sold twice to different LLCs. What's that going to do to your constituents? So I am asking for a moratorium, 100%. And if you don't have a moratorium, vote no on the permit. Don't approve it. Let's do more work for your people, not your trees, not your wheat, your people, so that you know what's going on. From other testimonies, from other counties, I hope and pray to God above, the Almighty, that the board has not taken money, has not signed contracts, has not been, high-rolled and dined and wined, because we've all heard that too. I hope that you guys are standing up for the people. I really do. Osage County wrote regulations to not allow permits for wind and solar. That would definitely, I hope, be on your radar, because the Facebook page, and I'll just tell you, I think somebody said I was really gullible to run that, but the Facebook page has gone to 600 people in the last 6 days. This is not an issue that's going to go away. Your constituents also do not want these. And then lastly, I would ask that we rewrite the county goals. I know that someone said we didn't know what did they say? Excuse me, forgive me. But when we wrote those goals, or when we voted on this a couple of years ago, or last year even, no one was there. That's because your taxpayers didn't know about it. Thank you, sorry. We didn't know about it. So there's a lot of things that go on in the background, and I pray and hope that the legacy that you guys leave is a good one. Please don't sell us out to the high bidder, because that's what has happened in other counties. And then lastly, since I have one more minute, I'm going to switch over and pivot to a different topic. I've never seen your face, but I've spoken to you on the phone. If there's any way possible, can we please not have any more rocks on our road for gravel that are this big? Because we are the ones that have lost, I think, 12 tires because of the very large rocks within the last year. So if there's any way that we could just do pea size, I don't know what size it is, our pocketbooks would really appreciate that too. So thank you very much.
Susan Hughes.
Hi, I'm Susan Hughes. I live here in Ottawa at 1414 Olive. As we've driven across the country, I've seen these fields of the wind turbines, and I'm so glad we don't have those. And now I find that it's this, the big money companies are coming after us. Whatever we can do, a moratorium, an amendment, just flat outline them. I think the only people that benefit from those are the people that are getting the grants to put them in. They even acknowledge that's the only place the money is coming from is the grants. They don't generate enough electricity to cover the costs of them. And even the electricity they do generate is not going here, it's going somewhere else. But my big concern is about what it does to the people, to the animals, to the land. This is a forever decision. The land can't be reclaimed. Once you've made a big hole and dumped hundreds of pounds of cement into them, you've poured 90 gallons of oil into each of those that you know some of it's going to seep into the ground. You can't go back. That ground is ruined forever. We can't get any more. God's not going to give us any more. You can't order any more. This is what we have. We need to use it wisely and well. It's also going to impact the people. You can't tell me there's not health effects from this, because I know that there are serious ones to the animals, to the people. We have to preserve our life, our standard of living, that we could be able to look at the scenery and enjoy it, not be interrupted by these machines flashing and the lights at night that keep people awake, and that you can't even use your own land. We just really need to do whatever we can to preserve our way of life, to honor what we've been given, because we've been given that land. It's a gift. We can't make it, nobody can make it, but we can ruin it, and there's no going back. Thank you.
That's all.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for your time. Move down to our consent agenda today. That would include minutes from our meeting on January 18th, tax change orders in the amount of negative $198.12, and to solicit bids for dust control. A motion for the consent agenda.
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
All right.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Vice Chair Waymire?
Yes. All right. First item of business is to discuss and consider for approval the final report amount for the Health Department write-offs. Good morning, Brenda.
Good morning, Commissioners. So last December, I came and asked that you help us approve the bad debt write-off for $52,855. The Health Department staff, Tammy, Nikki, and Maya have done an excellent job going into each account and determining that some of them are still active. So we are now asking for a new approval of $45,568.92 for between October 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2022. And then also going forward, we will come to you each quarter to give the bad debt write-offs.
This is
Any
cleaning-
questions?
This is cleaning up the old books, and it's not an additional 45,000, it's in lieu of that 52. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Formalizing that amount.
Correct.
And Brenda just said as much, but I would emphasize that this goes clear back to 2015. And some of this had to do with the software that was being used and how it was being utilized by previous directors. Brenda's done a great job finding these accounts. And yes, moving forward, it's very similar to what we do in ambulance. We'll be in front of you far more often because this is a large amount, but really when you look at it over 7 years, that puts it into perspective, so.
All right. Was there any questions? Is there a motion to approve the write-off?
I'll make a motion to approve the write-offs of $45,568.92.
I'll make the motion due to, just so the public understands, we had a special meeting and talked about this for a couple hours and explained to us how the old software and stuff and a lot of the other issues. I mean, you see, it's just a cleanup of it, is all of this. So I'd make a motion to approve the write-off.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Yeah.
Vice Chair Waymire?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Our second item is to purchase a backhoe for the transfer station.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a backhoe that we've been talking about for a couple of years. We were finally able to get a proposal from CanEquip for a 2022 JCB 4CX backhoe with a Dymex clam bucket. And as a part of this, we would trade in our 2016 Caterpillar backhoe. The proposal has a Sourcewell discount of 30% at $61,000 that they're knocking off the price, and then the trade-in for another $30,000. And so we would like to move forward with this. This has been on our equipment replacement schedule for a couple of years now, and we expect delivery probably in the first quarter of this year to get that in service. The clam bucket is a new feature that we haven't had before. This will allow us to, currently, backhoe in the transfer station pushes the material into the trailers, and then it's got basically a hammer that they're able to compact that. With the clam bucket, we will be able to push the material in just like we always do, but we will also be able to maneuver the material around in the trailer to get the maximum compaction and to be able to place the weight on the trailer a little more evenly. Gives us, hopefully will make us a little more efficient in our operation out there. And so we're comfortable moving forward with the price there of $132,374.20. And all of that will be paid from the Special Caps Fund, which is there's no tax dollars involved in that. It's all user fees generated from tipping fees at the landfill.
That machine is wore out. We got all the good out of it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the purchase of the JCB backhoe? Thank you.
Second.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Yeah.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Vice Chair Waymire?
Yes. All right, that new backhoe needs some solid tires.
Yeah, so our backhoes that we use in the transfer station are solid tires. The backhoe that we're purchasing comes with regular backhoe tires. And so we need to put the solid rubber tires on there. These are cut resistance, provide greater traction. And in one of the things a couple of things about the JCB backhoe is that all four tires are the same size. So that means in that small space in the transfer station, all the turning movements, all of those tires are turning at the same speed. The wear and tear on the tires should be reduced. This particular machine, the front and rear tires articulate, which also helps reduce wear and tear on the tires. But the initial cost is fairly significant, but is needed. We have a 2010 JC backhoe that we keep as a backup. The solid rubber tires that we have on that machine that we purchased in 2010, we're still using them today. And so we feel like we will get a long life out of these tires that we're going to purchase, but they are needed for the operation.
And if we stick with JCBs in the future, we'll probably be able to transfer these to.
Yes, sir.
The Cats have smaller front tires.
That's correct.
Is there a motion to approve purchasing the solid tires?
Motion approved.
Second.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Yes.
Vice Chair Waymire?
Yes. Thank you, David. Fourth item, to consider approval from CFS Engineers for our biannual bridge inspections.
Yes, so as you know, we're required to inspect all of our bridges every other year to comply with KDOT and the federal highway folks with their rules and regulations on bridges. And so every odd year, 23, we have to inspect the 241 bridges. And now these are bridges that are 20 feet or longer. They have to be inspected every other year. The price that has been quoted to us, $95 per bridge, for a total of $22,895. That is the same amount that was charged in 2021 by CFS engineers. And they're agreeing to do that same rate again. Now, I will tell you that I just heard recently that the requirements for bridge inspections are going to be changing in the next few years. So this might be the last time that we enjoy a relatively low-cost bridge inspection. In the future, they're going to be more robust inspections that are going to take longer to do, which will drive up costs. But we'll have to deal with that in probably 25, I would guess.
Well, this fulfills a requirement and also gives us some good information as far as which bridges need to be replaced, and gives a third party, engineers look at them and good recommendations for maintenance.
Absolutely. We look at these bridge inspection reports. It helps us prioritize. It helps us see bridge replacements coming a few years off. All of the bridges that we applied for funds, that information in the inspections is what we use to base our priorities on, and so this is well needed.
All right, any questions for David? Anyone care to make a motion to approve the proposal from Cook Flat Strobel Engineers?
Make a motion for. Second.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Yeah.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Vice Chair Waymire?
Yes. All right, our final item of business is to consider approving county spring cleanup days at the landfill.
So Commissioners, this is something that we do every year. At least in my time here, we have always had there were 4 different weekends that were involved. The city of Ottawa usually takes the first weekend in April, where they have their citizens within the city limits are able to bring debris and whatnot to roll-offs, and then those roll-offs are delivered to our landfill on Monday following the weekend. And then we do all the communities west of Highway 59 and all the communities east of 59 in the following 2 weeks. And then the last weekend, the 4th weekend in April, it is open to the public for Franklin County citizens to come to the landfill, transfer station C&D, to bring debris. This is something that we've been doing it certainly predates me, and we would like to continue that. One thing I did want to visit with you a little bit about today, though, I did have one community that reached out. They have concerns about citizens from outside their communities bringing debris in and putting it in their roll-offs, which they're indicating creates a hardship for them because the need for additional roll-offs and that kind of thing, additional expense. And they wanted us to look at options, how we could help them in that regard. One of their suggestions was to have our free county-wide weekend at the beginning of the month rather than the end of the month. I think that's a little bit problematic for a variety of issues. One, I think folks are going to continue to do what's most convenient to them, whether it's within the rules or not. And then the biggest thing, though, is as it is today, we have to have additional staff from the Road and Bridge, Noxious Weeds, and we even have City of Ottawa employees that come out to the landfill on the Friday and Saturday that we have our free weekend. So we're paying overtime costs to be able to handle the flow that we have. If we're at the beginning of the month, from what I've been told in past years, there would be lines clear outside of the transfer station and down the road for folks waiting to get in, which would require more personnel, more time, more expense on the county to be able to do that. And so I'm looking for input, but my preference, my suggestion would be to continue the process that we've had with the city of Ottawa, then the east and west of 59, and followed by the county at the end. I think moving it around at this point would also create additional confusion, because I think we would have, as it is, we have citizens coming on the other weekends thinking that they're able to dump free of charge at the landfill during those weekends. And so, again, my preference would be to just leave it as is.
How do you think it would be more expense if we had a line? I mean, we're not changing hours.
It's the time to get folks through. We would need additional people to help us in the facility to be able to expedite that. I think we move at a pretty fair clip, but in order to get more people in and out, we would need additional resources inside the building.
Well, I mean, I've worked on the building, you're limited by space. You can only 2 or sometimes 3 if they back in, right? And then they pretty well unload themselves at the construction and demolition.
That is true up on the hill.
Yeah. So I guess even if the line was 10 deep, they're still limited. There's a bottleneck there. I guess I just didn't see the.
No, in Pomona, they have somebody there at the dumpsters monitoring what goes in over there, so might be a suggestion for the other locations to have.
I've suggested that.
So the idea is if move the open landfill day to the beginning, that would alleviate some tonnage off the roll-offs and potentially lessen the burden on the city. Then on the other hand, if the cities find out they don't have enough roll-offs, they're eliminated from the option of saying, well, you can always go next week into the landfill. So,
Yeah, what David was referring to is previously when we didn't do the roll-offs in the communities, there was honest to Pete cars that were quarter mile down Osborne Terrace.
I remember it,
Yeah, and it's, and yes, we do have people up on the hill helping them unload as well. But, having that line out there, it wasn't feasible. It was a safety hazard. And, and then, even though you're giving people something for free, they still get upset because they have to wait. So it was not a pleasant situation. And I was happy to see when the roll-off started going to those communities first, and that alleviated a lot of headaches out there. And then it will also, we won't have as near as many trailers that we'll have to try to round up and hit at one time too. So it'll help on the outgoing flow too, because Hams only has X number that were available to us.
yeah, and that's been just over the course of normal business, that's been
Yes.
an issue, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that we're at the point now that we've got it works really good. And I was there when they was backed up down a mile down the road. And I think they've worked out a good system over the years. And just seems like they're not having much of an issue now at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always going to have that little thing about somebody from outside the county slipping something in or doing something like that, but.
And we try to check for those things to make sure that, we're catching those and having folks pay accordingly if they are from out of county. But Pat's right. I didn't think to mention it, but the issue with the trailer is probably the larger concern there.
Sure. Was there any desire to move the open dump day to the beginning, or just continue as we've kind of got in front of us, what we've evolved into?
I think we need to leave it alone.
Leave it alone, leave it alone, leave it alone. I'm not sure who requested it. Maybe you can tell them we considered it, but.
Right, and that's the thing, these communities they don't have to do this. We're trying to help them make their communities a better place for their citizens to live. They don't have to participate by any means, and I don't ever want them to feel like they have to. But we're just trying to help them as well.
Yeah, I will reach out to them and.
Let them know we considered it, but this is kind of the option that's best for the community or county as a whole.
Yes, sir.
So, all right. Was there a motion to approve free dump days as are outlined on our agenda?
Motion approved.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Vice Chair Waymire?
Yes. Staff reports.
Yeah, thanks, Colt. Just a few quick things. Some time ago, I was contacted by an individual that's working with the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. They are working with KDOT on a designated bike route through Kansas. It's through the entire country. But they are asking that each of the counties that the designated route would run through submit either a resolution or a letter in support to KDOT. It's my inclination to, provided the 5 of you, the 4 of you don't have any issue with that, to write that letter. We talk a lot about bicycle tourism, and we've got our bike shop downtown and wanting to promote that. Just for perspective, the specific route that they are proposing coming down from Douglas County would run down Old 59 Highway. At Stafford Road, it would loop up to New 59, come around to Montana Road. From Montana, it would go into the city limits of Ottawa, work its way through, then down to the Prairie Spirit Trail and out of the county. There's no requirements that we do pavement markings. There's not even any requirements for signage. They're just trying to get a route designated because there's apparently a fairly significant contingent of riders that like to ride these routes all across the country. So do you have any questions or concerns about that?
We look back through the records in planning and zoning, we passed a bicycle routes and system, and it was a pretty thick document. Yeah. And I know the city of Ottawa wrote the grant to write the, and I don't know if it even comes close to matching up to what they're talking about or asking or anything, but it might be wise to look at it and see if it's something they would accept as what we've already passed, or what does it need to be changed to match up with what they have. But I know there was a document that it went before planning and zoning and the commissioners and several years ago, I know.
Yeah, and that has various routes on paved roads throughout the county. This is just something that links up with, Douglas and counties north, and it just goes down through presumably to Oklahoma and Texas. I didn't look at the map that far. Any thoughts, concerns?
What's the reason not to just go straight down 59 to Prairie Spirit?
Yeah, that's it's interesting you say that. I don't know. Because yes, they could have stayed on 59 straight down into the city. And he's pretty clear in here. I think if we want to propose that as an alternate route, we absolutely can. That's
what they're proposing is getting out on I-35.
No, it's not.
Can you read it again?
Yeah, so Douglas County, down Old 59. And then once you hit Stafford, you just hop up the ramp onto New 59, you come around the curve there, then you hop off on Montana Road. And then from Montana, you take that straight into the North Industrial Park, and you filter through the city of Ottawa down to the Prairie Spirit Trail. What you are saying, I think, Roy, is why get up on New 59? Why not just stay on Old 59 straight into town? I don't know that. KDOT, New 59 is obviously a KDOT road. Maybe they want to mark it in some way or do something. I don't know, but we could propose they stay on Old 59.
Well, there's a quarter mile missing on Old 59. You can't stay on Old 59, so.
Old 59 doesn't go all the way.
It's not.
Okay, it's not.
Where that water tower is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't go straight down Old 59.
Okay.
You have to get up on Old 59
Well, there
for a
you
little
go.
while.
Shorter time on the highway.
So it's just a recommendation. of a place to ride?
It's a letter of recommendation, doesn't bind the county to do anything, doesn't bind us to, they're just trying to complete this route. The conceivable benefits are it would bring cyclists from other parts of the country down through the county.
I don't think I would recommend anybody ride a bicycle on New 59, so any portion of it, but.
I don't have a problem with it. Whatever they want to do, it sounds feasible to me.
So are you saying you're not?
No, I mean, if they're gonna,
recommend
it's
it?
probably gonna go in a book somewhere. I mean, it'll mean something to somebody. And,
This is not a consequential thing.
yeah, no, I get that, but if it's a recommendation, if somebody's gonna plan a trip on it, I wouldn't recommend they drive on New 59 in a bicycle, so
I feel the same way.
maybe we take time and, give them a better option to recommend, come back to it.
Okay.
I mean, or we, myself, I just probably wouldn't recommend that.
Okay. Okay. Don, Rod, what do you guys think?
I don't really, I mean, I guess they're just doing something with a blessing to make it that way, but I don't know, I'd like to know what their purpose is for it. I mean, I know they want us to designate something, but where does that leave us by us designating that's the bow crowd? I mean, I don't know where we stand with the state or the county or anybody else.
Does it have to be paved?
No.
Yeah, just go on Eisenhower, take the old Viaduct Bridge on Wilson, and then filter down to the old depot. Would be my thought.
Okay. Well, I've got at least two of you that have concerns with this, so I'll spend more of my time working on this and,
Well, I'm not against it, I just don't know, where they're gonna go with this. I mean,
okay.
after we do one way or another.
Okay, fair enough. The next thing, last week, we discussed the tax sale, and I got a few questions on just the number of parcels left after all of the redemptions. As of Monday, we had 40 parcels that were still in the sale, and so given that is a small number, I'm gonna go ahead and authorize that we proceed with the title work and keep that going, because that'll be an expense well within my spending allowance, so that'll continue moving forward. Property owners can and I'm sure still will redeem those properties, so I suspect we won't end up with 40 in the sale, but that's where that is. And then the only other thing, Paul had an FCDC executive board meeting, thought it went well. One of the things we discussed that we don't talk about as much right now is just workforce. And that's gonna continue to be a concern for a long time. We brought up the Panasonic plant, and you can view that through so many lenses as a blessing and a curse. One of the ways that it is going to affect this community is it is gonna draw our workforce, because there's gonna be a lot of jobs up there, and that will continue to put stress on us as well as businesses here within the community. I will tell you, at the county, despite the fact that we pay far, far less than our competitors, we're still faring fairly well, because I think we're winning on culture right now. But that's something that we're just gonna have to continue. I mean, that will be an issue, unfortunately, in my opinion, for as long as the five of you sit in that chair and longer. We're just gonna have to battle that. So that's really all I have. Thanks, Cole.
Paul?
Morning, Commissioners. Couple of things, update you. I mentioned before, I'm working on some grants. We'll submit a base grant through FCDC for stormwater improvements in Princeton. I hope to get that submitted by Friday. The deadline's the end of the month. Just all, the grant's written, just working on some letters of support, and then I'll be ready to submit that. And then potentially next week, and I've visited with Derek, potentially next week, we'll be in front of you with a developer for your consideration of submitting a moderate income housing grant for some apartments. These apartments would be located within the city limits of Ottawa. Ottawa is going to submit a different grant, and this is through the MIH grant program where they come out every quarter with funds, and the grant submissions have to be through municipalities. So I'm a firm believer the more corks we have in the water, the better chance we'll have of getting something. So the city will submit one. We'll see if you would like to submit the one we present. You'll get a couple of looks at it before you have to make a decision. And then I know Wellsville's going to submit an MIH grant, so we'd have 3 from Franklin County if we do all of these. So that's just a heads up on that. Referring to the Panasonic plant, they did have a meeting, Panasonic and Commerce and KDOT, that I attended last week up in Olathe, and kind of gave us a little bit of an update on where they are with the Panasonic plant. And every one of them kept saying it's just getting started, just getting started. But Panasonic did kind of indicate they hope to be in full production by the fourth quarter of 2025 and start production the first quarter of 2025. To Derek's point about workforce, in 2024, somewhere in 2024, starting in there, they'll start hiring 200 people a month till they get up to about 4,000 employees at that plant. When you consider what kinds of jobs that basically the Commerce says, think of it as a little town. You need everything. You need plumbers, electricians, security, maintenance, go down the list. And of course you have then your line workers as well. This is a similar plant to what they have out in Reno. And the plant in Reno produces 5 million batteries a day. Since Reno's been open for about 5 years, they've produced 7 trillion batteries. So and they expect this plant to do more. They will work on shifts of 3-4-4-3, and what that means is your work shift would be 3 days on, 4 days off, 4 days on, 3 days off is how they work their shift work. Seems to be very popular at the Reno plant, and so most likely that's what they'll do here. This will, right now they basically are just moving dirt up there. Obviously there's a lot of issues related to traffic and KDOT, and KDOT's first focus is just on the streets and access points immediately around the plant. If you think about how long it takes to do road work, and they're saying they want to be up and producing first quarter of 2025, KDOT's already behind the 8 ball. But once they get the roads directly around the plant for access and such done, then the primary focus for KDOT's going to be basically a redo of Highway 10. As KDOT basically said, Panasonic was a big deal for Commerce, just as Highway 10 is going to be a big deal for KDOT. So they've got a lot of work to do. Over the time, then they'll begin to work outward on the different roads and access points across the region as this grows. Like I said before, Panasonic's supposed to be 4,000 jobs, and then the ancillary industry and businesses another 4,000 jobs. So that's exactly the concern Derek mentioned that I've got is what's that mean for our existing industry and businesses? We're already underemployed. We don't have enough people here, so that's why I'm working pretty hard on these housing grants and housing initiatives. We have to have more people in our community. And we've got to find some ways to partner with our existing industries and help them protect their workforce and retain their workforce, because that's going to be a challenge for our region, at least the first few years of Panasonic. In the long term, it'll settle and this will be great growth for everybody, but short term, there's only so many workers and there's a ton of jobs coming, so I'm very concerned about the impact that could have on our existing industries and businesses. So we'll continue to pay pretty good attention to that. But the guy at KDOT's a lot younger than me, and his name's Paul, and he's got brown hair, and I bet in 2 years he'll look like this Paul. So don't envy the job they had before, but a lot going on, so.
You talked about the multitude of different types of jobs, and if you addressed this, I missed it. Have you heard anything on basic wage information, what they are looking at? Because I'm sure there is a standard factory worker. Have they released any of that info?
They have not released their wage information yet, at least publicly. I'm sure that was part of the negotiation with Commerce on incentives, so I'm sure Commerce knows, but they haven't come out with that yet. What they are doing is they have an HR firm that's right with them there in Reno, and that's the same firm that's coming up to Kansas City to do the hiring. And what we're trying to do for our region specifically, when I was at that meeting, I felt like it was pretty KU, State heavy as far as where they were looking for pipelines. And so I went up and visited with a Panasonic HR person, and have since communicated with Lieutenant Governor and the Undersecretary of Commerce about the desire that I have for more engagement with the regional smaller schools, trade schools, tech schools, community colleges, and have sent word out to a lot of our county partners in education and gave them the contact information for Panasonic as well, so that we can get in the conversation and benefit from an education standpoint, even in our local school districts, and sent that to Dr. Cobbs as well. So trying to make sure as this evolves and there's training, pipeline opportunities for employment, while we want to protect the industries that we have and the employment base there, we also want to provide opportunity for people going through our education partners for good employment wherever that might be. So if there's an opportunity for a pipeline with Panasonic for our institutions in Franklin County, we certainly want to facilitate that.
Paul, I know you hear this too, but one of the things that scares me about the 3443 is we interview so many people that want flexibility, that talk about having trouble finding childcare arrangements, and I understand why that's popular, and that regardless of the wages, which I'm sure will be high, it's having that flexibility. So just something that we're working on, that we'll continue to try and address, that should at least stay in your periphery in some capacity.
That's all I got, unless you have questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Kyle, anything? All right. David?
Couple of things. Snow event today. We had staff out after midnight last night, kind of monitoring road conditions. We called the first shift out about 4 o'clock this morning, and folks from Noxious Weed and Road and Bridge have been out treating roads and whatnot. Since then, that's Pat left to get back in the truck to hit more subdivisions. So we'll continue that. All indications are this is kind of a wet, heavy snow, so it's coming off our paved roads really well. We probably won't do a whole lot on the gravel roads because this wet, heavy snow, if we're not just perfect, it tends to suck up the rock and causes bigger issues. So we'll monitor those things. The other thing I wanted to visit about is the local road safety plan. This is something that you all approved, entering into an agreement with KDOT for KDOT to do this work last year, and I've been waiting, trying to be patient, waiting on the results of that. Just last week, we received kind of the top 10 list of projects that they are recommending in Franklin County for safety improvements on our major roads. And if you recall, when we entered into this, one of the benefits, besides having this information, is that once we get through this local road safety plan, it opens us up and makes us eligible for a funding stream through KDOT, the High Risk Rural Road Program. And so now that we have this top 10 list, we're eligible to apply for those funds. Old 50, one of the segments, actually the first phase of Old 50 construction that we're wanting to do is actually included in that top 10 list. And so what I would like to do is apply for that. It's due, I think, the middle of next month. And the consultant for KDOT is working on getting me the last bit of information I need to be able to submit that application. I just wanted to let you all know and make sure that you were comfortable with me doing that. In conversations with KDOT, they have encouraged us to apply for this, but also to apply for the cost share program because the funds available in the high-risk rural roads isn't quite enough to meet our needs for this construction. And so by combining getting funds from both of those sources should put us over the hump as far as being able to get that project done. And so I plan to, the cost share program hasn't been announced yet. They usually do it in the spring and again in the fall. And so as soon as, I've already got kind of example applications and those sorts of things. So as soon as they release that, I plan to submit for that as well to try to cover the $2.5 million construction costs for that first phase.
What's the local match on those two programs?
Well, on the high-risk rural roads, it's only 10%. And the cost share, the more that we put towards it, the better chance we have of being selected.
So it's like an offer and acceptance type program, yeah?
More or less, yes. And there's some criteria that we'll have to meet, which we do for the cost share. I think this is a good project and will fit within that umbrella of requirements. We're looking for at least $1.5 million to get that project done, with the rest coming from money that we've saved for this project, FEMA money that we still have left over to put towards that project. So anyway, I've got the application started and we'll submit as soon as I get the rest of the information from the consultant. So
You mind emailing that report out? I'd be interested in seeing that list.
Say
That 10 list?
Yes, so what they have done, they've given us the top 10 list, but they haven't given us the project recommendations associated with that list. That's kind of what they're working on now. I am reviewing it. I've got some comments for them. There's a whole host of information. Once I get the last piece of information from KDOT or from the consultant, I plan to have a study session and present all of that information as best we can. It's numbers heavy, and so we'll do our best to kind of wade through it, but there will be recommendations and we can talk about those.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Yep, it's been a long time coming. And that's all I have unless you have other questions.
Thank you. Janet?
Just one quick note. As you guys know, IAN is at the local government day today. Yesterday, that local government is kind of kicked off with having the sheriffs and local police chiefs, the county clerks, and the appraisers all up at the Capitol yesterday for various receptions that we had for our legislators. So trying to stay engaged with our legislators as they start this 2-year cycle. And we have 2 new representatives covering our county, so I'm trying to engage with them to make sure that the dialogue is open. So I know yesterday I was up there for the reception. Sheriff Richards was up there and presumably still up there since he's not here this morning. Adam Weingartner was there from the city of Ottawa, and I know Jamie Wilson was also up there, our appraiser. So quite a few of us up there yesterday representing the county and the city of Ottawa. And I know the city commission will be up there today also for local government day. So just want to let you guys know that we're trying to stay engaged with our legislators with different bills that are affecting the county. So we all feel like that's really important.
Anybody going after the publication requirements this year in the legislature? Have you heard anything? Is that a priority for anyone?
I always keep that up on my my association's list, make sure that we're all staying aware of that. We all definitely, as the County Clerks Association, we do have that as a concern, especially with the R&R notices. We're basically paying twice when we're doing these R&R notices because we're paying for the publication as a whole to send it out to every residence, and then every single taxing entity, which, you know, like we have 16 townships and 8 small cities, and, you know, so by the time you add all our taxing districts up, we probably have 60 to 65 taxing districts, and everyone has to pay for a newspaper publication also. So that's usually $150 to $200 bare minimum. Ours usually runs more than that because it's larger. So that definitely is a concern. I don't know if we'll get any traction with that, but there is some discussion about the state continuing to pay for the R&R. So that already has been presented at the legislature. So a lot of other bills. One topic that Jamie's really watching heavily is potentially making the appraisers elected instead of appointed, and how that will affect the system itself and the transparency of the system. So lots of things flying around right now, so we're all trying to keep an eye on those.
I was curious, the publication requirement I was referring to is that there's so many things by statute have to be published in the newspaper, but we only have one choice of newspaper, like most communities, and
And it's only one day a week.
it's only one day a week, which is a real time constraint, but we spend tens of thousands of dollars a year publishing things in newspapers.
Absolutely.
Probably be a lot more efficient if we could put it on a website, if the state had one website where all publications could be looked at. I mean,
And we are required to publish it on our website. In addition, anyone who has a website is required to publish their budget on their website. So they're out there, you know, and a lot of counties, I just was giving this some consideration this week, whether we kind of start trying to put all of those budgets on our website. I was looking at Harvey County in particular that does put all of their, not only their budget publications for all their taxing entities on their website, but also puts their annual reports out there that people may be interested in looking at. So just considering potentially doing that, just to get the information out and just so people don't have to ask for it, they can, they just know they can get it. So.
There's probably a chance to save some real dollars there if the rules were
Absolutely.
changed.
I mean, we do. You're absolutely right. We spend thousands and thousands of dollars. You know, I know Jody spends, when she publishes the delinquent tax rolls, she spends like $3,000 to $5,000 publishing at one time. So it's a lot of money.
One of these years, they're going to make that decision, but I feel like it's been in front of the legislature so many times, and the amount of money that these publications must spend on lobbyists, because it makes too much sense to not make that change, but that has not come across any of my listservs as being kind of on the docket this
I
year.
want to say the number we put in is 30,000 in our budget for publications. Well, I think a lot of those papers get up in front of the legislature, and it's probably true to say this is pretty much what's keeping us afloat. But, yeah, doesn't really make it a good business model. Anything for Janet? All right, commissioners, Don?
No.
Pass? Pass?
Have anything?
Nora, nothing I need to add, so. That would look for a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Roy. We're adjourned.